it's always about this culture for the conservatives, but it is sometimes shrouded in some type of economic message. Paul Ryan spoke to the CPAC audience, and he's come out with his report that purports to show that the war on poverty was ineffective. And of course, citing this time a bunch of academic studies where nearly every person cited in his report has said he miscited me, essentially. He picked and chose certain parts of the report and didn't actually give what we actually found. Which, of course, apparently somehow he is inoculated from any type of accountability. I mean, in some ways, Paul Ryan is his own walking Benghazi. No way, he's never accountable. But
he is just a walking sort of Benghazi combined with an IRS testimony being given in front of Darrell Issa. It's so true though. It's that culture of where Darrell Issa can make a statement as he did, with Elijah Cummings, and then after his statement is made, the rebuttal to point out that what he's saying is completely false, you shut down the microphone. That's what Paul Ryan is.
Now,
he's a shut down microphone.
I want people to listen. We've got a significant. I mean, it's a fairly long clip of Paul Ryan, and we will stop this. This is. I think this is sociopathic, but listen to Paul Ryan retell this story about a kid who gets free lunches at school. This is the vision of this guy. Well, let's just play it.
We are going to show the country that there is a better way. The way I see it, let the other party be the party of personalities. We will be the party of ideas.
Pause it. Yeah, we have to stop and just laugh.
Was that irony?
We have to stop and just laugh. We have to stop and just laugh. I mean, there's this part. The conservative movement is so obsessed with Barack Obama as an individual that it is beyond the pale. I mean, down to going over what clothes he wears at any given point. But go.
I'm optimistic about our chances because the left isn't just out of ideas, they're out of touch. Take Obamacare, not literally but figuratively here, okay? We now know that this law will discourage millions of people from working. The left thinks this is a good thing. They say, hey, this is a new freedom, the freedom not to work. I don't think the problem is too many people are working. I think the problem is not enough people can find work.
Now let's pause it here because now we've talked about this in the past. Even the audience is confused by what he's saying here because we know that the CBO report showed that Obamacare is going to allow a couple of million people, maybe 2.5 million people over the next 10 years to leave the workforce voluntarily because they will not be locked in a job because they cannot get health insurance. This will then open up these jobs for other people. And the idea, I'm sure there are people in the audience going, hey, wait a second. We're going to have more of an option as to whether or not to work. And that we're talking about mostly people in their late 50s, early 60s who will have this opportunity. And you got to remember, 10 years out from now, about 10 years out from now, the full retirement age will be at 67. So you're talking about people maybe even in their mid-60s, 65-year-olds, who will be able to say, you know what, I don't have to work full-time right now. I can leave the workforce. And no one can complain with that. And he doesn't do quite enough job of conflating those two concepts that people can actually give a full-throated clap. So they get this sort of anemic, like, Yeah, I know this is an applause line. All right, but let's get to the meat of his comments.
The more exciting part, even.
Indeed.
If that's possible.
And if people leave the workforce, our economy will shrink. There will be less opportunity, not more. The left is making a big mistake here. What they're offering people is a full stomach and an empty soul. The American people want more than that.
They'd rather have an empty stomach.
You know, this reminds me of a story I heard from Eloise Anderson. She serves in the cabinet of my buddy, Governor Scott Walker. She once met a young boy from a very poor family. And every day at school, he would get a free lunch from a government program.
I have no doubt that someone in Scott Walker's cabinet met a poor child only once. Go.
Well, she tripped over him when she was looking at her smartphone and he was on the street.
God.
He told Eloise he didn't want a free lunch. He wanted his own lunch, one in a brown paper bag, just like the other kids. He wanted one, he said, because he knew a kid with a brown paper bag had someone who cared for him. This is what the left does not understand. We don't want people to leave the workforce. We want them to share their skills and their talents with the rest of us.
Through sharing paper bags.
Now, of course, here, people are confused again. Wait a second. What has this got to do with it? If someone has the ability to leave the workforce, that means that they have the ability to feed their children. And
I'm still stuck on the fact that sometimes, we'll put my older son's lunch in sort of this, little package thing with, an ice pack in it to keep it cool, but we don't put it in a paper bag.
Well,
so I'm starting to worry now that he thinks we hate him.
All right.
I just can't believe that he just said that if you can't afford to give your kid lunch, you don't care about your kid.
Yeah,
That's just
continue.
disgusting.
We'll deal with this as a whole in a moment.
People don't just want a life of comfort. They want a life of dignity. They want a life of self-determination. A life of equal outcomes is not nearly as enriching as a life of equal opportunity.
All right. So really, that's really the. I mean,
I don't know what else to say. Does he mean the equal opportunity that comes with his going to high school and college and my dime? Or does it come with the equal opportunity that comes with his parents making all their money on contracts given to them by the government in Janesville, Wisconsin, so that he can live the life he's lived where he's never had a non-government paying job or wingnut welfare paying job in his entire life? That's kind of what I'm wondering, this guardian of the free market.
Well, but
he's just unbelievable.
Aside from just the general sociopathy here, first off, he's saying that people don't want equal outcomes. You know what? That kid was asking for an equal outcome. He was saying that I want my parents to have the ability to provide me with that lunch on a daily basis in a brown paper bag. I mean,
by cutting income taxes on high earners. Of course.
And beyond that, there's built into this notion is the idea that, you're getting that free lunch is preventing you from getting that lunch from your parents. It's as if the idea, it's like, if you get subsidized housing, that's preventing you from living in the penthouse in a luxury apartment. This is absurd. It's absurd.
Yep.
And really, even more so, what he is making the argument for here, and of course, the irony is just dripping in the notion of these are the guys who want to cut food stamps, which allow for kids to go to school with their own
food
lunch.
Stamps, unemployment insurance, health care that's being given, health care subsidies given to people, which also allow them to have free preventative checks and the rest. I mean, anything that could allow that family to not be in debt and to save enough money to be able to pay for that lunch is what these people want to cut. That's why I say he's just such a little smarmy asshole. I mean, I just...
He's not the first person to point out this dynamic. I got to say. There was another. Well, I've heard a lot of this before. Let's play it. Let's play this clip. Tell me if this doesn't resonate with you.
Ice cream.
No, there'd be one kid on the side, they get no ice cream, and kids don't care. They go,
You don't have no ice cream. You didn't get none. You didn't get none. You didn't get none. You didn't get none. Cause
your father's an alcoholic.
You can't afford it. You can't afford it.
other kids
Wanna
join
lick?
in.
You can't afford it. You can't afford it. And his father is an alcoholic. You want some ice cream? You want to eat some of my ice cream, but want to lick?
Psych.
Psych. You want some ice cream? You want some ice cream?
Now, of course, Paul Ryan would say that kid doesn't get any ice cream, but of course he has the dignity.
Oh, I had that whole
Of
thing
not getting a free
memorized,
ice cream.
man, in the 80s. I used to love that.
Paul Ryan wouldn't
Eddie
even
Murphy
offer the
back-
kid the psych lick.
Now,
I know. That is
One
the
lick,
Republican.
psych.
Go ahead.
and
Yeah, I mean that's the Republican theory of life right there. Eddie Murphy when he's being funny. That was perfect.
And we should
Perfect
also
stuff.
note that what Paul Ryan is making an argument here for here is universal free lunch. I mean, if we want to rid the stigma of kids getting a free lunch, then you offer a free lunch to everybody at the school. That's the
Yeah.
way you get rid of that stigma. You make a free lunch
It's
universally
a great
free.
point. It's the reason why conservatives are always trying to do things with means testing of programs like Medicare and Social Security.
That's right.
They want to create that stigma.
That's right. At the same time, he will call for means testing on Social Security or on Medicare. The reason why they don't say that people are stigmatized and don't have their dignity when they get Medicare is because everybody gets it. And
That's right.
And let this be a lesson for those who want to means test something like Social Security or Medicare in that way, aside from it not saving any money from a policy standpoint, and aside from the fact that you can easily do this by taxing up front the payments into these things. They want to stigmatize people.
He's and I just it's hard to control myself because he's such a fraud. I mean, this is one of the Paul Krugman has done a lot, but I'd say that one of his largest contributions to our public conversation was being a man of real numbers and understanding economics and literally tearing Ryan apart constantly as he just did again and pointing out that this guy is a fraud, that he is not a numbers guy, that he's pulled something over on, sycophants in the media on the right and in the mainstream media and others who just don't get the numbers. I would respect him more if he would just stand up there and say, if you don't have lunch, that's your problem. That's not government's role, right? But what I can't stand is this complete sophistry where he gets up and he acts like, that by taking things away, we can make things better. And
Right.
actually tries to have that make sense and has these crowds cheering as if what he's doing is compassionate, as if what he's doing will make things better, and what government's doing is actually hurting people. It's sickening. And it's sickening even more when it's a guy who, again, went to high school and college that we paid for, which I'm glad to pay for his high school and college, not him specifically, but those who need it. But that he has benefited so much from government programs and from government contracts and from government paychecks, and yet this person can sit there and say the things he's saying. He's sickening.